Okay, so in this video, I want to show you how to use an Excel spreadsheet and some of the functions in the Excel spreadsheet to calculate some of the value, some of the measures or statistics that we've looked at for one variable statistics, and in particular, the standard deviation. Okay, so we have a set of data here. In particular, the number of tries to get the serve over the net in volleyball. So that was our experiment. So I've ordered the data already, so it wasn't this ordered when it was given to us, but that's okay. I've ordered it because that's where we want to start. It makes it a little easier. So how did I do that? So what I did was you can highlight the column. You go up to the top menu, go to data, and then you go to sort. And then you can choose sort by, you can choose the column title, and then sort on, that gives you the cell values, but now the order. So I chose smallest to largest, or we can do, let's do largest to smallest, and that inverts everything. So we have the largest value first and then the smallest. But we want, let's order it from smallest to largest. Okay, and it reorders everything. Okay, so let's start by looking at the median. I'm just going to put median there, and I want the median to be in this cell right here. So again, each square is called a cell. So let's go back to this column of data, the first column. So if you notice the letter on top, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, these letters label the column, and then the numbers on the left-hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth, these label the rows. So a cell has both a column and a row name. So this one in this particular cell, I'm going to highlight it. This yellow cell, the name of that yellow cell is A2 because it's in column A and row 2. And it's always column first, then row. Okay. So our data is in the cells, takes up all the cells from A2 all the way up to A26. So it's not too many, so we can actually count them. But let's start by, suppose we have more than that, say, I don't know, a larger number, and we want to count how many cells, or we want to know the total. So this is our population, so we want to know the population. One way to do that, or the easiest way, is to actually highlight the cell where we want to put the population size, and then we want to count the number of cells from A2 all the way up to A26. Well, there are functions or formulas that do that. So one way, sometimes we can go to auto sum, and there's a couple of formulas there. We can try more functions, and then we have a list of them. Let's see. Let's search for a function. Let's type a brief description. What about count? Well, there you go. There's a count. And then it has a bunch of functions that have the word count in it, and then just below that at the bottom it gives a description. So counts the number of cells in the range that contains numbers. Okay, so let's try this one. So let's click OK. So if you notice in that, we get another box. So now we need, well, let's try this. Let's try a range. So we have A2, that's where we want to start counting, and we want to stop counting at A26. Let's see if that does anything for us. Yes, it does. So if you notice, if we go back to cell B28, we get a 25 in there. So it's counted the number of cells between A2 and A26 in that first column A. And we do indeed have 25, and that is our population size, 25. All right, so next function we want to look at is the median. All right, the median. So we know what the median is. It's the value in the middle position. So we can do it by hand, but let's see if we can use a function, or if there's a function for it. Okay, so let's go to more. So we've gone to the menu. So how do we find that? We go to the menu, we go to formulas, we click on, let's start with auto sum. It's not there, so let's go more functions. We're going to type in a brief description. Let's try median, click return, and there you go. We have median, we read the description, returns the median or the number in the middle of the set of given numbers. All right, Click OK. And again, we need to put the range of values that we're interested in. So A2 to A26. So notice how I write that. So I put the first cell, so A2, where the first value is, colon, and then A26. So that's the cell of the last value. So for the cell of the first value, and then a colon, and then the cell of the last value at the end of the set of data. All right, click return, and then we look at cell B29 beside median, and we have a 1, and indeed we have a 1. It's in position 13. All right, so let's keep going. What else did we learn? We learned mode. All right, so again, let's go up to the menu, go to formulas, auto sum, let's give it a try. We don't see it there, so more functions. Let's type in a brief description. Mode. Oh, looks like we have a mode. Let's read the description. This function is available for compatibility with Excel 2007. Okay, and earlier. That's exciting. But what does it do? Returns the most frequently occurring or repetitive value in any array or range of data. Okay, so that's what we want. All right. So again, all right, now we need to punch in the range. So again, what is it? Our data starts at A2 and goes all the way up to cell A26. Let's hit return, and our mode is 1. And if we look at it, yes, we have a whole bunch of 1s, right? Okay, that's pretty good. Now let's find the mean or the average of all the data. Now, again, let's go back up to formulas, auto sum. We have an average, but now let's go to more functions. Let's see if we have a mean. Oh, we have all these strange words, geomean, haramean, trim mean, all these things that aren't mean. And if you look at their descriptions, they're not really what we're looking for, are they? However, let's go to average. Returns the average arithmetic mean. So average also means mean here of its arguments. So this is what we're looking for. So mean is actually the same as average in Excel. So the average function in Excel represents the arithmetic mean or the mean that we know. So let's click OK. And we need to type in the range of our data. So remember, data starts at cell A2 and goes all the way up to cell A26. Hit return, and that's our mean, 2.08. Nice. Okay, so now, all right. So now we've got all the basics. What else can we do with this data? All right, so let's see what we can do. Let's insert some charts or graphs. Let's see if we can, what happens if we do that. Okay, so let's try this. We have histograms and box and whisker. Interesting. I have no idea what data that's all about, so let's delete it. Let's highlight some data. So again, let's highlight the data that we'd like a graph or some sort of chart of. So I've highlighted all the cells from A2 to A26. I'm going to go to the menu at the top, go to insert. I'm going to look at all the possible things we can insert. I want a chart. You can go to recommended charts, and then it suggests a whole bunch of things. All right. But I'd like a box and whisker one. So I know it's here. Insert statistic chart, box and whisker. Oh, there you go. And that's our box and whisker chart. All right, let's see if we can insert another chart. So our data's still highlighted. Let's insert a histogram. Oh, and change it to a histogram. Right. So we can do all kinds of things. We can play with all these charts. We'll talk about the charts more in another video. Let's go back to our calculations. So let's create a second column and column B, and we're going to call this population deviation. So remember what the deviation is, or what the formula for the deviation is. It's a data value minus the mean, or the population mean. Let's see if I can there. So equals. So, all right, so let's do this. So we want the population deviation to be in the column right beside the data values. So we want the population deviation for our data value in cell A2 to be in cell B2. So how do we do this? Equals, take the value from A2, we're going to subtract off the population mean. So where is the population mean? So remember, the population mean is the average, and it is in cell B31. So we're going to go back up and like that. That's our formula. So now we have a formula for the population deviation for the data value in cell A2. Great. So we can do that by hand for each of the other cells and data values. Or what we can do is we can copy cell B2. Now you'd think it would copy the value negative 1.08, but no, in actual fact, it copies a formula equals A2 minus B31. So keep in mind, when you have a function or a formula, you want equals first, and then it returns the value after the calculation into the cell. So I copied that cell. Now I'm going to highlight all the cells where I want the same formula. There you go. Right. So now if we look at any one of these other cells, say B13, let's look at the formula. We have A13, that's our data point, minus B42. That's weird. Why is it B42? Our mean or average is in cell B31. What did we do wrong? But we didn't actually do anything wrong. We copied the exact cell, the formula, but what happens is when it inserts it into every other cell, so when it inserts the formula from cell B2 into cell B3, B4, and so forth, if you notice, it changes the cell values all by 1. So the B2 now becomes A3, sorry, the A2 now becomes A3, and the B31 becomes B32. Well, if we go to cell B32, there's nothing there. Our mean is not in cell B32. So our population deviation for data value in cell A3 is going to be incorrect. So somehow we need to fix the formulas. We can do it by hand, which is fine. But if we have like thousands of data values, that's going to be very tiresome and time consuming. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the formula in cell B2 and we're going to look at it. So A2 minus the value in cell B31. And let's take a look at the formula in cell B3. A3 minus cell B32. So the first part is correct. The A3 is correct. It's the second part that isn't. So we need to somehow take the formula from cell B2 and fix the value or fix B31. So how we do that in Excel is actually we put a $sign in front of everything we want to fix. So in this case, we want to fix the row and fix the column. So we need to put a $sign in front of the B and in front of the 31. So now our formula is, again, for the population deviation is A2 minus B31, but with these $signs in front of the B and the 31, so in front of the column name and the row name. If we copy it, let's copy it now. And now let's highlight all the cells where we want that same formula. Oh, interesting. So now if we go into cell B3, look at our formula. It's A3, which is what we want, minus, again, the B31, or rather $sign B, $sign 31, stay the same. So the $signs keep a cell constant or fixed, and that's exactly what we want. So now we can check a few other ones. So a B22 is perfect formula for the population deviation. So we have all the correct population deviations now. Excellent. All right, so now in the third column, column C, we're going to square all these values because remember the formula for the the population standard deviation, we need to take the square of all the population deviations. So we found the population deviations. Let's square them now. I'm going to put a title into this column, square population deviation. All right. Okay, so how do we square? I mean, the easiest way to square, I'm going to put this, so I highlight C2, put an equal sign. So just B2 times B2. So the asterisk is times or multiplication. Done. All right, so again, we copy that cell, and now we highlight all the other cells that we want to fill that same information into. And sure enough, it's done that. So if we go to C3, we have cell C3 is the value that we get from multiplying B3 by itself. So the square of B3. If we go to cell C24, so the value of C24 is equal to B24 times B24. So the square of the value in cell B24. So that worked. Excellent. Okay. All right, so now let's scroll all the way down. I think we have all the information we need to try and calculate our population standard deviation. All right, so we have all our deviations, we've squared them. So remember the formula for our population deviation. Let's see if we can find it, like a little easier. I don't know if I can paste this here, but let's give it a try. There we go. A bit big, but that's okay. All right. So that's our population already here. Population. Right. Population standard. That's our formula. So what we've done so far is the xi minus mu. We calculate all those and we've squared them. Now we need to add them all. So let's do that right at the bottom. So I'm going to name this sum of population. Like that. That's clear. Okay. And we're going to put it in, we're going to put that value in cell C33. So this means we want to sum up all the values from C2 all the way down to C26. So let's, and we want to put that in, that sum into C33. So we're going to highlight cell C33. Again, what do? Go up to the menu, go to formula. Let's try auto sum. Let's try sum. And look, it filled in something for us. Sum C2 to C32, not quite. C26, let's see what we get. That's what we get. We get 47.84. Excellent. All right. Sum of squares. Okay. All right, so now what do we do with that sum? We need to divide by the population size. So let's do that. Sum of squares of population deviation divided by population. Big description. And we're going to put that value into cell C35. So let's do that. So equals. So we're taking the value from C33 and dividing it by the value. So where is the population size? Population size is in cell B28 divided by cell B28. So that's the value we have under the square root. And this value under the square root is also called the variance. I'll put that. Variance. Let's put variance, put in brackets. Or rather population variance. So of course, there's going to be a sample variance as well. That's a population variance. So now to get the population standard deviation, we have to take the square root of that. So let's put that in cell C37. So let's label it. So population standard deviation. We're going to highlight the cell where we want to put that information. Then we're going to go up to the top and, well, actually, why don't we see if we can find this formula? All right, so again, we go up to the menu. Whoops. Go to formulas, go to auto sum. Do we see a square root anywhere? No. So let's type in a brief description. Square root. Okay. Turn to square root of a complex. Okay, we don't have a complex number. How about this one? SQRT. Return to square root of a number. I think that works. Sounds good to me. Okay, excellent. So now all we have to do is plug in the number that we want the square root of. Well, we want the square root of the number in cell C35. Let's put that in. Oh, there you go. So 1.383329 is our population standard deviation. Excellent. So we were able to calculate quite a few things using various functions in Excel, and eventually the population standard deviation. Okay, so one last thing. Let's go back up to the file, the formula, AutoSum, and more functions, and let's see if they have a standard deviation formula. Try this one. Okay, let's try this. All right, so I've typed in standard deviation and I've come down to STDEV. Now, it's not clear to me whether it's based on a sample. So this is a sample. Estimates the standard deviation based on a sample. So what about this one, the P? Calculate standard deviation based on the entire population as arguments. All right, let's try that. Okay, I'm going to equals, and our sample is A2 to A26. I wonder what we get. Look at that. We get exactly what we did through all our calculations. So let's clean that up. So again, why don't we put that right here, and I'll highlight it. So in this yellow square, the yellow cell, D37, we're going to use the formula for the standard deviation and see if that gives us the same value as what we calculated. So again, do this quickly. File, formulas, AutoSum, more functions. We're going to type in standard deviation, see what we get. I don't know. I'm going to keep scrolling because it doesn't make sense that it's going to start at C. But that looks like it's possible, STDEV. But if we read the description, the bottom, estimates standard deviation based on a sample. That's not what we want. Let's try P. STDEV.P calculates standard deviation based on the entire population. So that's what we probably want. There's another one here, S. Okay, that's sample again. All right, but we want this one, standard STDEV.P, because we're considering this as a population. We're going to click OK. And then we need to put our sample data, or our population data in here. So the data starts at cell A2 and goes all the way up to cell A26. Let's hit return. And look at that. In our yellow cell, we get exactly the same value that we calculated using all the other functions in Excel. All right. Good. So hopefully that showed you how to use some of the functions in Excel, and then how to use them to calculate the population deviation, how to square all these population deviations, and finally put it all together and find the population standard deviation. And then of course we found the ultimate shortcut. We found the function for the population standard deviation in Excel. So that's even easier. All right. So if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.